It's your Friday daily delivery. I am Michael Rand. Happy to be back for another day. Hope everybody out there is having a great day today. Really good show coming up. Former NBA player Randy Livingston will join me here in a little bit. Talking problem gambling today. Randy has a great story to tell of his journey coinciding with a conference here in the Twin Cities on Friday. So we'll get to that here in just a little bit. Some Twins news at the end of the show, a name that is no longer with the organization that might catch your attention, certainly caught my attention, even if it wasn't a tremendous surprise, an indication of, okay, maybe the beginning of the status quo being broken up a little bit here. Some of the people who have had an opportunity here and have not succeeded. One of them on his way out now. First, though, what I miss, the Wild. Losing 4-3 to Carolina last night. It's kind of a tough game where anytime the Wild seem to get any kind of momentum, as Sarah McClellan wrote about this on StarTribune.com, anytime they seem to get any kind of momentum in this game, Carolina answers right back with a goal. I think the biggest example of that was second period. It's a wild first period, no pun intended. 3-2 at the end of the first period, like goals up and down the ice. Philip Gustafson was not good. More on him and kind of his journey this season in a minute. Second period, they're into Carolina. Wild tie the game up 3-3. 9 seconds later, you get a goal, the go-ahead goal for Carolina that turns out to be the winning goal. No more goals the rest of the way after that kind of like bonkers first period, and then the kind of two right back to back in the second period. So Wild lose 4-3, a little bit of the momentum they had established earlier, at the end of their homestand finally, that kind of stalls. Good game for Boldy. I think he was playing his 300th career NHL game. He was good. Gustafson was not good. And so here's the thing. Gustafson not good in the first period, gave up some soft goals. So you look at it and you're like, man, they're giving up a lot of goals this year. It must be Gustafson's fault. It must be his problem. Well, the second period, that goal probably wasn't on him. It was a Brock Faber turnover. Faber's not been great this year. Let's be honest. He's not been great this season. He can be better, and I think he knows that. His game was starting to come around, I think, before this one, but that was not a good game for Brock Faber, not a good play for Brock Faber. It's not been a great start for Brock Faber. They probably need more from him. But anyway, that one's on the defense. That one's on kind of their systems, and they're bringing in a lot of new guys. Like Faber's still pretty young, but you got Bouillon. You're trying to bring in Urasek. You got all these young guys trying to mix in with the veterans that they've had, and it's not just defense isn't just about the people who have defense as their position. It is about an entire 5-person unit doing the right things, stuff like that. They haven't been doing the right things enough or consistently enough this season. What I mean by that is you look at all the goals they've given up, you might say, hey, Gustafson's been bad. I don't think he's been great this season. But here's some advanced stats from Money Puck. You look at expected goals against and actual goals against. Gustafson's given up 38 goals this season, which sounds like a lot. 12 games played, so a little more than 3 goals per game. Not going to win a ton that way, and the Wild haven't. Expected goals against this season, 39.71. So he's a little above. He's got 1.7 goals saved above expected this season. So if you're just going by that metric, and I don't think those are perfect metrics. I don't the expected goals. I think there's, I don't know. I don't know what the methodology is all the time. I get it. I think something about it just seems flawed to me. It never quite seems right to me. But everybody, it's the same for everybody. And if we're measuring him against everybody else, they're saying that he is a little bit above average this season, at least in terms of letting in goals relative to the expectation, relative to the quality of the chances that he's facing game after game. So Wallstead is a little below that, but not way below zero. It's, both of them are kind of like in that squishy middle of goalies. So they're not getting goalies that are standing on their head. They're not getting goalies that are overachieving, but this isn't on the goalies. This is on a lot of the time, the first period last night notwithstanding, a lot of the time this is on their overall team play, their team defense, their ability to keep teams from having glorious chances, and not just these goalies that are hanging out to dry. So keep that in mind as we're watching the Wild going forward. The defense might be more of a problem than the goaltending is for the most part. Like I mentioned at the jump, I'm bringing in Randy Livingston, former NBA player, former college standout at LSU here in just a minute. Timely on two different fronts. Number one, Minnesota Alliance on Problem Gambling has a conference in the Twin Cities on Friday aimed at the rise in addiction among young people and particularly young men, gambling addiction. And two recent gambling scandals in pro sports. You got a lot of recent gambling scandals in pro sports, in particular the NBA. Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier. You've seen a lot of names in the news, a lot of different fronts. And just in general, like we're in a time right now where gambling has become so frictionless. Prop bets are a big piece of this right now, where you can bet on things every second, every play, every pitch. Just a good time to kind of step back for a minute, talk to Randy Livingston, hear his story. His journey was more in the in the 2000s, when he was in the NBA primarily. It's a little bit different than today, but still his story very similar to how things can go right now. So looking forward to this conversation with Randy Livingston. Hope you do as well. Like I had said already, I am very happy to be joined right now by former NBA player Randy Livingston. Randy, welcome to Daily Delivery. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, I understand we're several time zones away from each other right now, but I'm glad we were able to make this work. And thanks for coming on. And a lot of times when I'm talking to someone for the first time, we're gonna probably get into some heavy subjects. I just want to open it up by let's start open-ended. Kind of tell me your story, wherever you want to start it and wherever you want to end it. What's your story? What was your journey that brought you to this place here and right now?
Well, I wish we had an hour, but no,
well,
we're good.
Go as long as you want. Go as long as you want.
Best as possible. So I was introduced to gambling at an early age. And it's ironic, like I always tell people, I have the best mom in the world. I love her to death. But like it was basically family gatherings, whether it was at Christmas, was Thanksgiving, they would always play cards. And a lot of times, when you're young, you're naive. I pretty much thought she won all the time because all the time, we always had money for the trips. So basically, she said she would play cards to get us some money to travel on AAU trips. And all of the trips we had at least $10, $20 to get something to eat. So, I was introduced to gambling at an early age. And so that proceeded with me playing cards and dice on the inner city projects steps and, trying to, get some money. And so that was my early introduction to gambling. Then next thing you know, I get to a prestigious middle school or high school, if you want to call it, in Isidore Newman, where it costs almost $30K to go there a year. And so among the elite. So the next I got introduced to poker on a school bus to Washington, D.C., and won a lot of money, so beginner's luck. And then basically it never stopped from there. I used to always look back at my career and said there was 1 year where I didn't gamble. And, from that point on, like they always say, the more money, more problems. I get to college. It's not the NIL edition of what college is today.
Yeah.
But we still got quite a bit of money of Pell Grant, and there was money around. And so when we got all the money for the Pell Grant at the beginning of the semester, we would go downstairs and Broussard Hart in the basement, and all the football players, all the basketball players, and there was no sight of doing schoolwork. It was like, we're gonna leave this game when the last person has all the money. So that's the way the gambling went. And I think for me, it became a problem gambling for me at this point, because here it is, I'm the best player in America, my junior and senior year in high school. I go to LSU as a highly rated player, change the program, make it to the Final Four. And obviously more money, I risk going on the gambling casino boats. And I'm the face of the program. And a lot of it had to do with, I had an injury. So I had a lot of idle time. besides rehabbing. I wasn't playing. And so then I went to the casino boat knowing I was underage because it was 21 at the time. And so to me, that was the start of my gambling addiction and problem, because whenever you're willing to risk all of the things that I had going for me, it's a problem. Whenever you like a lot of times now in sports, they talk about what's your why. Well, whenever you have morals that you have and you're willing to go against them and risk it for whatever it is, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, but my instant, it was gambling. I risked going on the boat knowing I can get in trouble, knowing that everybody knew me in the community, but I still went on the boat. I think that's when the problem gambling really started. I think before, it was, I won't say novice, the money games in the college got up there, but I think that's when the problem gambling started in college. And from college, it went on. Obviously, you get to the NBA. You got more money, more problems. And then you're in the NBA culture where it's super, super competitive, which lends to the addiction, but also the atmosphere and the surroundings. Whenever we went on the planes, we played cards. And I felt like I had to be a part of that to fit in the NBA environment. And obviously, like I said, the problem gambling started in college. So for sure, if you had more money, and to Charles Barkley, my rookie year in 1996 in Houston, I was his quote unquote son. So whatever he did, I try to do, right? So when we play games, it's him, Clyde Drexler, and these veterans, this veteran. And our first couple of plane trips didn't do anything. But when I see the pot up to $100,000 on Blu-ray, then I want in. I want in. A gambler said, if it's happening, you want in. And so, my whole NBA career, if you want to say the definition of insanity, every year I would make a lot of money during the season, whether I was in the NBA Development League or the CB at the time, worked my way up to NBA. If I made 200, 300, 400,000, the season ended, I start training, getting ready for the season. So I always train because I knew that's what I wanted. But that training was just to beat my addiction, because then I would lose all the money in the summer, basically. Whatever I had made, I would go to the casino boat, and by the time it was over, I'd have enough just to pay the natural bills. And then it was on the race again to get an NBA job. Then the same thing would happen for 11 years straight. And that's my story. I can continue with how I got to where I'm at now if you want, but that's the story of what happened in my pro career. And it didn't change when I started coaching right afterwards. And I used to always think I was giving the kids my all and the players, but my mind was just fooling it, because if I had a win, it was on a high. And then if I had a loss, it was on a low. So I definitely wasn't thinking about the next assignment or, how to help a kid be his best. I was thinking about how I can get back to the boat or wherever I can gamble to chase.
How did you then stop that cycle? It was 2017, I believe. And then obviously in this moment now, you're educating people, but young people in particular. We talk, in the intro before we started talking, I was talking about the conference that's here in the Twin Cities on Friday, the problem gambling that's really impacting young men in particular. How do you then stop and now become someone who's, trying to warn people essentially of, the path you can go down?
Yeah. So I'll tell you my turning point. So we're at LSU. I just moved back from Australia because 2012-16, I moved to Australia, and there's gambling here too. So you think you can run from it, but it's everywhere. And so I go 2017 to work for LSU. We're having a bad season. I know there's talk of us getting fired. So there was like a trigger. And so I went to the casino boat in Baton Rouge on the way home, won $50,000 to $70,000 very quickly. At this point, I did an exclusion because my wife had kind of figured out a little bit, but not much. So to kind of appease her, I did an exclusion in the state of Louisiana. In every casino that was an MGM or whatever, Caesars base or whatever. So I go in there and I try to cash in the money. So they obviously ask for your ID. So as soon as I give them my ID, they call the state trooper. I go around and he takes me in the back room to take the money. And they said, you're trespassing and we could take you to jail, but we know who you are. So we're not going to embarrass you. But this time we're going to write you a ticket.
Okay.
So I get a ticket, whatever. On my way home, just had a newborn. What am I going to tell my wife? Where I've been, what I'm doing. So obviously when you're in that mode, I just tore up the ticket, threw it outside before I got home, never said anything. I'm sure I made up something. And so that day passed. We go to the SEC tournament. We lose in the first round, and they fire us after the game.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much.
Okay.
They fired the head coach. And then we get back to Baton Rouge. We go meet, the assistants go meet one by one with the AD, and they fired us too, even though I had 2 years left on the contract, or a year left on the contract.
Yeah.
So that triggered me again. So I'm pretty pissed off. We moved to Australia. I'm just getting back 6 months later. You're out of job. Like that's kind of tough break, but whatever, it happens. It's life. It's the field I chose. So after that meeting, instead of going left to go home, I went right to another casino, different one. This time I'm losing. So I go to cash in some money with my credit card. They take the ID again. And the craziest thing, as they're walking me back, the same trooper, no, you're not back in here.
Same trooper?
And so,
oh, man. Yeah.
Same trooper. So I'm like, oh. And so, excuse my language. So
That's
then
okay.
I walk around with him. He says, look, man, you're a public figure. I don't want to embarrass you. But now you take this ticket and you probably have to go see someone and try to figure out your life. So I'm walking out disgruntled casino, turn in my valet, grab it, and I see the 1-800 sign.
Okay.
For gambling.
Yeah.
So I've seen it a million times. I've gambled so many times. I've seen it a million times. But this time it just stuck in my head. And then as I got in my car, I said, I pretty much have to confess to my wife at this point. Like it just, so I confessed everything to her, and to me, even though she had already knew because she had a private investigator follow me for a little while. And so basically she gave me an ultimatum, either, the family walks or you go get help. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go to the outpatient that they had. After I called the number, they gave me 2 options. You can go to outpatient or they have an inpatient in Shreveport. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to Shreveport. But she said, you know what? I've already packed your bags.
Wow.
You need help. You need to figure this out. And this is your choice. You got to make it right now or we'll walk. And so, that's a tough decision. So but it wasn't. I made the decision. Within 10 minutes, we were on the road, headed to Shreveport, and my life changed forever after that. And that was tough days, 30 days in a facility at Core, not with my family, not doing my normal thing. I love watching the NBA finals. All those things were just cut short. You don't have a cell phone. I kind of fought the rehab center for about 10 days. You don't have a phone, but only on Sunday. You're going to all these AA meetings, and I'm like, I'm not an alcoholic, so like, why the hell am I going to this? But part of recovery. And my life changed forever after that. I finally, was engaged in everything in the rehab, still not knowing what the outcome would be, if I'm going to work again, where I'm going to go, what's going to happen. But those 30 days changed my life forever. And after I came out, I continued to go to GA meetings. I continued to get help. And, I found out pretty quickly I wasn't alone. There was a lot of people with this addiction. And, and then I was like, what am I going to do? That's the hardest part. There's a gambling. You have the repercussion of all the things you did. And sorry about that. You had all the things that you did. And now you have to figure out life on life terms, right? And so I didn't know. And then finally, a year passed, and I decided to go back to my alma mater. But also during that time, I came out with my story. Which, as I thought about all the years and all the relationships, and being guilt and not, telling what was going on, what would happen if you told, right? The opposite thing happened. I had a lot of people call me, congratulate me on coming out, but also telling me that they had a problem and asking how to get help. So like that was a big relief. It felt like a a 5,000-pound gorilla came off my back when I became
Yeah.
public with it, instead of
Yeah.
the opposite, because you held it
Sure.
in for so long. And so that was the beginning. So I always, wanted to give back and this be my legacy. Started my advocacy journey.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of stuff before partnering with FanDuel. FanDuel basically
Right.
just helped amplify the message, and that's what I was looking for in a partner. And it's been full go from there. And I'm excited about all the things that we're doing now. But that was my story, and that's how I
Yeah.
changed. And it was not easy.
No.
I tell you that it was not easy. But it's been 8 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm sober, and I'm blessed every day. I take a day at a time, and I really, 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 truly, sometimes God, the world takes you through things, and God, puts you in the right place at the right time to be able to, for me, it's a legacy thing now, and like it feels so good to help people, help myself every day. It seems like every time I go speak about it or share my story, I gain strength. I gain, this is what I'm supposed to be doing now. And like before, the pieces of the puzzle never fit. I was always trying to force things to happen.
Yeah.
Now the pieces of the puzzle fit, and it works. And so it's a blessing for me to be here with you today. I still have my family. There's a lot of relationships that I had to amend, and I'm still working through a lot of those things. But life is, incredibly, blessed for me, and it's incredible that I can be here just sharing my story with you. Because if you'd have told me 10 years ago or 9 years ago, I would be sharing with strangers and people that I don't know. I would be like, no way in hell. And so this is just a blessing, and this is just my next chapter of my life that supersedes all the accomplishment in basketball. People always ask me about that, but this means a hell of a lot more to me than any accomplishment I've accomplished as a coach or a player.
Man, that's a great. I love you sharing everything there. It's a remarkable journey. It's a remarkable story, and thank you for sharing that. I've have some follow-ups for you.
Yeah.
Along the way, I think you hit on something that's kind of fundamental to a question that I think a lot of people ask about current athletes who have gotten themselves in trouble, and there's access to this, and the money's gotten bigger. I think the access to gambling has gotten more prevalent, and then you see some NBA scandals recently with Chauncey Billups, the whole poker thing, Terry Rozier and the stuff about pulling himself out of games, stuff like that. Like I think what you shared, like it didn't matter to you, like when you realized you had a problem, it was that you were willing to risk whatever it was because you wanted to keep gambling. Like it was within you. You were doing that thing. And I feel like that's the people ask of athletes, like, man, you've got millions of dollars. How could you do that? Why would you risk everything? Is that like something that people are missing when they contemplate the stories of these athletes that we hear about now?
Yeah, I'm not going to say names, but there was
That's fine.
some
Yeah.
prominent broadcasters talking about this after when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, really understood what this was about, and the other two didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Addiction doesn't matter. If you have a lot of money, if you're black, white, purple, green, if you're tall, if you're short, like it doesn't matter. Like, and so if you have an addiction, especially a gambling addiction, your whole mindset has changed. Your whole paradigm switch has changed. Where it doesn't matter if you have 9 million in the bank. It doesn't matter if you have 100 million in the bank. You have an addiction, and so that's one of the things that people don't understand about gambling addiction. That everybody thought pattern and process of normal the way you would think, it's not there, and so that's why it's called an addiction. So I think once people realize that gambling addiction is one of those silent addictions that
100%.
affect everybody. It doesn't matter if you have money. It doesn't matter if you have the minimum wage job. It doesn't matter if you have making $70 million a year as an athlete. It affects you. And so it might not making minimum wage, but eventually it will get to that if you have an addiction. So I think it's just one of those situations that is unfortunate. It's hard for me at this point. and I think it's inappropriate to really talk about it because I didn't know all the details of what's happening. You hear all the stuff that they put out in the media, but we don't know all the details yet. And so I'm just wishing the best for those guys. But also, if they do have an addiction, my main thing for them is to seek help and to go through the process and, realize you can come out of this better. No matter if you do jail time, there's people that had a gambling addiction that have done jail time and doing well. So like, it's not the end of the world, but you have to deal with the fact that you do have an addiction and you need to get help.
Yeah. Great words there. You talked a lot about, you're going to these, riverboat gambling, the boat gambling, stuff like that. It's a lot of that's in person. Like a lot of this stuff now happens on a phone. It happens fast. Do you worry about the access, especially like young people, young men, athlete or not, have to gamble now versus, even, in the recent past?
Yeah. No, so being a teacher around middle school age kids and high school age kids, I run a elite youth basketball team that's funded by Nike. The kids and teenagers are just today exposed to gambling through like a multitude of things: sports, video games, and like what area. It's just conversation inside and outside school. Young people are gambling than ever, whether it's legal or not. And that's when you say the handheld phone, it's right there in their hand. They can have access to it 24/7. I know when I go around and talk to the younger kids, I go around and talk to rookie transition program, NBA, and talk to young people all the time. I would say 90% of them don't even know what proxy betting is and that it's illegal and they can go to jail or their parents can go to jail. So I think that's really, really, important. I think it's also important. Like we started the program, Trusted Voices, where we want to equip the mentors, the teachers, the coaches, and people in the community to learn about the warning signs and the risk of gambling, of problem gambling, know what the warning signs are. And then, once you have that, where to go to get help. Because I know there's so many young kids today that are gambling or the parents don't know that they're using their credit card and ID to get with illegal operators, which they're not, they don't have any governance with them, and then legal operators. And so I think there's a lot to be learned in the space right now. And what we're doing with Trusted Voices and the conversation about bettings, having the videos, having the two kits, but now all of a sudden we're doing the blogs posts, so we're trying to educate people to what is really going on in the younger generation today.
That's great. Randy Livingston, really enjoying hearing from you, hearing your story. You said you're still an NBA fan? Do you watch a lot of NBA still, even where you are right now?
I don't watch as much, but my wife thinks I'm crazy because on Sunday mornings I watch college football at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, and then on Monday morning here, which is Sunday there, I watch the NFL. Yeah. So I follow the Saints. I follow my LSU Tigers, who are going through some crazy times right now. Yes. But I hope they get together. I know Coach Frank Wilson well. He used to chaperone me on AAU trips, so I'm pulling for those guys. And I'll watch a little NBA basketball. I don't watch as much. I wait till the playoff starts to really watch it a little bit.
Okay. Well, I love hearing your story. I appreciate the time so much. I'm glad we could kind of line up these times, you in Australia, me here in Minnesota. But thank you so much, Randy, for everything you're doing, for sharing your story with me today and our audience today. And best of luck and be well, okay?
No, thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks once again to Randy Livingston for sharing his story. You might have heard him say in the middle of that, he's working for FanDuel, his brand ambassador for FanDuel, along with his wife, Anita, both of them kind of sharing his story, talking about how this has impacted their lives, his life. Responsible gambling ambassadors for FanDuel. You might say, FanDuel, that's a gambling company. Isn't this like, the guy, the skit from I Think You Should Leave, the crash the hot dog car. The guy gets out in the hot dog costume, trying to figure out who's responsible for this. Yeah, so I thought that going into, like, I was a little skeptical of this. I guess ultimately where I land on this is if they're giving him an opportunity to amplify his message, which is what he said, you have to support that. I still think that, here's the thing. I think we can be happy that Randy Livingston is having a chance to tell his story. I think we can be happy that he's having a chance to amplify his story. I am still very much concerned. I'm glad there's a conference going on this week. I'm glad they're addressing addiction with young men. Um, you can be we can appreciate all of that and all of that effort to talk about this and still be really concerned and frankly convinced that this is going to get a lot worse going forward. That's got nothing to do with him. He's doing the right thing. I think his message is great. I just feel like gambling has become so frictionless and so instantaneous, and there's such a wide variety of things out there. It's so corruptible now with these athletes. Like he talked about, like if you're addicted, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have all the money in the world. It doesn't matter if you have this or that. If there's something that can corrupt you, if you have an addiction, that's not going to matter. So anyway, long story short, I really appreciate Randy coming on. I think his message is great. His story was great and well told. I'm still very much concerned about where this is headed in the future. Let us finish with the cooler. Twins released a whole bunch of guys the other day, including Jose Miranda, guy who came here in 2022 with great potential, had a good, first impression rookie season in 2022. 2023 didn't go that great. 2024 was up and down. 2025 was almost all down. That's 4 years in the system. He's 27 now, I believe. So now all of a sudden he's cut. He's out. He's off the 40-man roster. He's released. He's kind of a symbol of what went wrong, right? Like you had this young core of hitters, Jose Miranda, Edouard Julien, kind of in that same camp, a guy who showed a lot of promise and now is struggling. Other guys who have stuck at the major league level, but who are stuck now that they've stuck at the major league level. Royce Lewis, Brooks Lee to a degree, although Brooks Lee maybe gets a little longer runway. He hasn't had as much of an opportunity yet. Trevor Larnach, who may or may not be here next season. Matt Wallner, whose progress has struggled. Like we've talked about all these guys before, but Jose Miranda, the first one really to go. We'll see if there are more moves to come in the offseason, if there's more kind of a youth movement of a cleaning house, or if under new manager Derek Shelton, they want to see if he can get more out of some of these other players that they weren't able to get out of them previously under the Rocco Baldelli managerial regime. That will do it for me today. Tons of stuff this weekend. Expected to do post game from Vikings Ravens. Big one for both teams. Vikings 4-4. The only 4-4 team in the NFL. That will not be the case after Sunday. So we'll do that live after the Sunday game. Gophers on a bye week, so a little bit to kind of catch up on there. But until then, I am Michael Rand. Have a great rest of your Friday. Back at it again with the post game on Sunday and then Royce on Monday.